What's going on, everybody? So this is going to be a little bit of an update video to a topic I covered a few days ago, and this is pretty funny. I missed this, so I want to jump in and show you guys some stuff. And then I'm going to talk about Diamond and DC Comics if you don't know what's going on there. Diamond and DC have parted ways. Diamond is, well, they were the only distributor of comic books. So I made a post on this in my community tab on my channel, said I would talk about it. So I'm going to talk about it in this video. So we're going to go over two things. This is a comic book video, though. So we're going to talk about comic book shops and DC and Diamond. But I want to start here because this is kind of funny. So a few days ago, I did a video talking about this. This is comic shops showing support for Fight for Justice after their stores are vandalized. They're basically thanking and approving of the vandalism that happened to their shops. So here's Golden Apple Comics. You can see what happened to them. Their front window was busted and their door was busted and so on and so on. Now, like I was saying before, I saw people in my comments saying, well, the insurance will take care of that. Well, it turns out, in case I don't know how many of you ever had to make a claim for things through your insurance, but it's not always so easy to do. And I was talking to my comic book shop owner, and he said that a lot of these looters, like a lot of the vandalism from a lot of this stuff going on, isn't getting covered from insurance because apparently you have to request political activism coverage or something, and a lot of these people aren't getting the money to get their shops fixed. So I find this incredibly humorous that these comic book shops are getting vandalized and looted, and they're thanking the people that did it. Like, thank you, please. We stand with you. We are appreciative of you destroying our shops that in a lot of cases have been shut down for months and not bringing any money, and they were paying rent and everything, and now they are even broker because they're going to have to pay for the doors to get fixed and these windows. And let me tell you, that ain't cheap. So I found this kind of funny. It's like, really? Okay, well, you're essentially saying thank you to the people that destroyed your business. And then we have the curious case of Heidi Ho Comics. So I want you to check out the damage done to these guys. They had a lot of damage done. So they launched a GoFundMe to try to make up for it. They had a lot of stuff taken from them. Golden and Silver Age comics and so on, and a lot of statues, Magic the Gathering cards, and so on and so on. A lot of stuff they talked about how they moved from a different location to a more high-end location, and that the rent was hurting them. They're paying a lot more rent because of this, and it was really hurting their bottom line. And now they had over $40,000 in inventory taken from them. So they started a GoFundMe. On the end of the day, not really a big deal. I mean, I'm all for that. Do some crowdfunding, right? Here's some details. So, the store was broken into on May 31st by thieves who used the peaceful protests as cover. They drilled holes into the door until the lock fell off and stole a stock of products that should have lasted the store months. This comes after the shop was hit hard by the pandemic, forcing it to close for 2 months. The store is looking to raise $43,000 to help rebuild and refurbish the building, replace lost product, and pay employees. The store will also be donating 10% of all donations to the BINC Comic Book Store Safety Fund, which has been supporting comic book stores hit financially during the current economic downturn. I believe so a lot of comic book artists and stuff were doing charities for the BINC to help out stores, but from what I understand, a lot of the funding from that still goes to like other things. It doesn't all go to comic book shops. But here's the real kicker. This is what I found really funny about this. Another 10% will go to the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is dedicated to seeking justice for the most vulnerable members of society. They are pretty much, look them up, the SPLC. You'll find a lot of stuff on how nasty that organization really is. But what I find funny at the end of the day is how they're begging for money and giving a lot of it away. Especially when I would imagine I I bet you a lot of insurance, and I don't know if you have to have that kind of insurance or not, but I bet you they're not going to cover this stuff. From what I'm understanding, a lot of people aren't covering it. So I found this kind of funny in some way. So if you really want to donate to the GoFundMe, you can see this name of it right here, Help Heidi Ho Comics Recover from Looting. But they seem pretty NPC for a comic book shop. Usually you don't really make it as a business owner with that kind of mentality. And I'm not saying I feel bad for them. I don't like to see anybody get their stuff stolen or get looted, but this falls in line with the same stuff where it's like, oh, well, thank you for looting my shop. I'm very appreciative of you of destroying my business, and I stand with you. These are the same people that have been attacking people for saying, look, looting and rioting doesn't help anybody. Peaceful protesting is the way. These are the same people that are saying, no, we need to just go ahead and burn the city down. So that's my thoughts on that. So quick update. Finally, I did want to go over this. So DC kills decades-long deal with Diamond Comics distributors. This is a pretty big deal. Diamond is essentially a monopoly. They're the only, how it works, in case you don't know, is basically Marvel, IDW, DC Comics, all of the comic book publishers. They print their comics and it all goes to Diamond. Diamond then packages them up, very poorly, by the way. Very, very poorly. Damaged boxes all the time. They're terrible at their job. And a lot of that has to do with them being a monopoly. But they would send it all to Diamond, then Diamond would distribute all of those comics to comic book shops. They would take orders and distribute it. There's no other company that does that. There used to be a few, I think. And then they all went out of business. Diamond pretty much became a monopoly and owns the business of shipping comic books. That has now changed because DC Comics has terminated that relationship. So now they are using, according to the Hollywood Reporter, they are using Lunar Distribution, UCS Comics, and Penguin Random House to do all of their distributing. I personally think this is a good thing because monopolies are not good for anybody. It's one of the reasons why you see so many of their packaging to comic book stores in such poor shape. It's because what do they care? What do they really care? They didn't have any competition. They can do whatever they want. And here's the problem with the way they package. So comic books. So usually here's what happens. So a comic book shop will send out, they'll buy, and Marvel does this a lot. In fact, but DC does it as well. You order so many copies of, X-Men 200, whatever issue they're on right now. You order 100 books as a shop. You get a 1 in 100 or a 1 in 25 or a 1 in 50 or so on and so on. The more you order, the more valuable the variant. And how that works is that variant cover of that book will be worth, on eBay, you could probably hawk it for $250, $300 or something. They would make a lot of their money back on comics that way. Buy this many books, you get this variant cover, you can make a lot of your money back just selling that variant cover. And I've seen some videos from unboxing of weekly comics on YouTube where they'll just throw that in there loose. They don't even bag and board it. A lot of the times I've seen them come out damaged and all kinds of stuff. Like Diamond is lazy. And then they shut down their business, during the big outbreak. And they just shut everything down. Didn't really talk with DC. DC wanted to keep making comics during the whole thing. And Diamond didn't want to work, and that's where a lot of this came from. Like, okay, well, you're going to shut down. We'll start other places. This, I believe, is 30% of Diamond's business. Now, I don't want to say that DC couldn't go back to Diamond eventually, but this will probably end up really hurting Diamond, and it could potentially end Diamond. Marvel may or may not stick with them. I don't know. If Marvel decides to go with some of these other publishers, that'll be bad news for Diamond. I think competition is good for anybody. So personally, I think this is a good move for them. Diamond is a lousy company, and they single-handedly were able to shut down the comic book industry by making a decision without even talking with DC or Marvel. They just said they were going to do it. And at the end of the day, that cost Diamond. And it shouldn't be up to them to decide the fate of the comic book industry, because we don't even know, to be honest, how this is going to affect the industry being shut down like it was. I wonder how many people aren't going to go back to shops because they were shut down, because at the end of the day, it is a habit. And if you break a habit, sometimes people don't pick it back up. So, we'll see what happens. The comic book industry is starting to come back to life. We'll see how things are affected. It's going to take a month or two. I'm really interested in those Comic-Con numbers to see what titles are at compared to what they were at before the shutdown, and looking at what kind of business was lost. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Also, make sure you throw a like up, share the video, subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.